Hello friends, and welcome to today's video where we will be creating this monochromatic landscape with Neocolor II crayons, or just one crayon in this case. So today I challenge you to visit your selection of Neocolor II crayons, or any water-soluble media will also do, and pick just one that you will use to draw a landscape. The reason I wanted to do this is that, first of all, it's very good for our kind of artistic eye every now and then to work on kind of this kind of value study way that you use just one color and try to differentiate different dark values and lighter values, and that way kind of see the landscapes or whatever subject you are drawing a bit different way. But also I think this is a fun challenge, and also just kind of a good exercise in case you are, for example, traveling somewhere and you have very limited space for your art supplies. This comes to show that you will also only need one pencil or one crayon, one basic color and some paper, and you can immediately start drawing. So this is just a fun challenge and fun exercise to kind of get your creativity flow during the first month of the year. The color I chose today is beige, which is, as you know, one of my favorite colors. It's super versatile in the series of Neocolor IIs, and I think it's very good for this kind of landscape drawing, especially because it is this, I would say, color that we can also see a lot in the nature, and especially during the winter time. Let's imagine it's like a cloudy winter day, so I think beige is the perfect color for that kind of studies. Also, it's a very interesting color, kind of between gray and brown, so obviously it's also a very interesting color and fun to work with. But I mean, you could also do this with pink or any of your favorite colors. That actually could be a lot of fun. The kind of method I'm using today is the same that I'm always using with my Neocolor IIs. So I like to first do kind of the initial first layer and then start adding details. But of course this time is a bit different because we have only one color to work with, so we have to be a bit more careful with how much color and pigment we are putting down during the first layer. So what I am doing here is that I'm kind of already at this point trying to identify at least a couple of areas where I want to have a bit more pigment and kind of darker values, and then those areas that I want to keep much lighter. Note that it's also totally fine to leave some white paper kind of visible. You can really use that white as well. I'm actually not leaving that much white visible in this drawing, but that's definitely also a method that I encourage you to practice, especially if you are someone who enjoys working with watercolors. Obviously leaving the white paper visible is pretty basic there. So yeah, once I have the first layer of color in place, then I start adding a bit more pigment to those places which I want to have a bit darker, and where I want to have darker values and shadows and darker colors. So especially when we are working with just one color and making this monochromatic landscape, it's very important to identify those areas where you have a bit more light and a bit more shadows and darker tones. If you find this difficult to do, one good tip, of course, is to take whichever picture you want to use for your reference and turn that into black and white picture, and that will help you a lot to identify which areas will be the more light ones and which ones will need more pigment, so you can make them darker. I think with Neocolor IIs, this is an especially interesting exercise. I'd say if you are working with graphite pencils, and of course you might have different pencils available, it's much easier to do this because you will have, first you might want to start with very hard pencils, and then the softer and darker you then get later on, the kind of more shadows and darker values you can get. But when you're working with Neocolor IIs, that's not happening because this one crayon is the same crayon throughout the drawing, and this gives you an extra challenge. But of course you can play with the kind of quantity of pigment that you lay down. So here you can see, for example, that for the kind of darker areas of the trees, I will be using much more crayon. And then for those lighter areas, I try to preserve the white paper and the brightness as much as possible. So what are the benefits of this kind of challenge and exercise? I think personally one of the benefits is that it helps you to really focus on the essentials. So focus on your drawing skills and your skills of seeing and kind of visualizing the landscape that you want to draw or paint. That's very useful, and it improves your kind of basic artistic skills, I'd say. But also, I think it's a lot of fun to challenge yourself every now and then. As you know, I love colors. I love to mix different colors, especially with Neocolor II. You see me doing lots of color mixes, and that's something I truly, truly enjoy. But every now and then, as I said, it's good to challenge yourself to do something different. And it's also fun, even though it might take you a bit to your kind of out of your comfort zone. But that's also where you learn, and even that is fun when it's not happening too much. If you decide to join me and if you want to also create something like this today, I of course warmly welcome you, but I want to share with you that this wasn't kind of all plain sailing for me either. I did struggle with parts of this drawing, and I struggled to kind of get dark enough values down, and that of course is because of the crayon I chose. That this beige is not super powerful color. It's not like there is a limit to how dark you can make it, and what I try to do here is that I try to layer it. I try to use kind of dry on wet technique a bit, and also, you know, just try and see what might work. But as said, I did struggle a bit, and not in a bad way, in a kind of good way. It was challenging me. But I also really enjoyed this because it again taught me some new ways and new ideas how to use these crayons also going forward. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's very good to challenge yourself at times to do something that's a bit unusual for you, a bit out of your comfort zone, and a bit different from what you would usually do. So when you challenge yourself to do something different, you have to be a bit more creative than you usually are, and that will also then help you learn a bit more about your art supplies. And as you know, on this channel, we are always encouraging each other to use the art supplies you have and explore them and see what they can do, so that you can fall in love again with what you already have, and you don't always have to go out there to buy new art supplies. And when I was doing this little drawing, I think I again learned, as said, new ways to use these crayons, and because I was kind of forced to do that when I faced different challenges. So going forward, when I will again turn to my wonderful colorful selection of Neocolor IIs, I will have some new ideas and tips and tricks in my back pocket, and I'm sure that will be a lot of fun and useful for the months to come. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. New Neocolor II videos are coming again very soon, and on my channel I have a full playlist full of Neocolor II inspiration, so please check that one out if you haven't already. I will see you very soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, enjoy your own art journey, and see you soon. Bye for now.